Are you familiar with, and I've only just encountered this, how the pyramids produce energy, which is a little bit different?
Well, I'm certainly familiar with the stories and the phenomenon. I've been obsessed with the pyramids since I was a young child. And so I've studied them for many, many years. And there's a lot of things about the pyramid, particularly, let's take the example of the Giza pyramid. The shape of the Giza pyramid fits perfectly into the geometry of space that we unpack in the unified field theory that was revealed in Thrive 2. So that semi, it's a half octahedral pyramid. It's four sides, a base, and then it goes up to a point, and the angles of all that fit in with the geometry of the unified field. Then you go into the King's Chamber, and the dimensions of the room and the dimensions of the sarcophagus, which is this stone open vault in the middle of the, not in the middle of the room, but in the right place in the room, is all phi ratios. So it fits the natural spiral ratios that all of life uses, that a spiral shell, a plant, the spiral on your fingertip in the back of your hair and so forth. There's a certain ratio of growth that allows an organic being to keep their proportions while increasing their scale. So a plant grows, a tree grows, a shell grows. And so the Great Pyramid's built on all those same numbers. So even though it's made of stone, it's a very organic thing. And then when you really come down to the essence of it, not to be long-winded, but this is really important. The most sort of honored, revered artifact in religious history was the Ark of the Covenant by Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. The major artifact was this Ark of the Covenant. And there's many, many drawings, etchings of it and so forth. And several have been found. They're still secret, but and I can't talk a lot about it, but several defunct ones have been found. But the key to the Ark of the Covenant, the story in the Christian Bible was that it was, this box where they put the tablets that Moses brought down off the mountain. Well, I think it was a lot more than a storage cabinet for some clay tablets that probably never existed. What I and my colleagues all think that it was a capacitor box. And it's described very carefully in the Bible that the ratios, and again, it's phi ratios, it's gold on the outside, and then acacia wood in the middle, which is a good conductor, and then gold on the inside. That creates a capacitor, something that will store energy inside. Then they close it, and they've got two gold cherubim on the top. Mm-hmm. And the Ark of the Covenant is the arc of electricity that was going between those two gold cherubim, which are basically the electrodes, where you can discharge excess energy from the capacitor and where you can access that energy for other things that you were doing. Well, it turns out that the Ark of the Covenant is an exact fit to sit inside the sarcophagus in the King's Chamber, in the greatest building ever built. And that's not random. I think that's where they were accessing the energy that then vibrated the entire pyramid. And then they do all sorts of stuff with that, but that's another story.
So your understanding is the Ark was like a portable battery, in a sense?
Yeah, it's a free energy device. Yeah.
Ah, cool. And why can't you talk about what do you know where they are? Or
well, there were a couple of secret archaeological expeditions that I'm privy to that have not been revealed to the public yet. And they are, let's just say, exciting beyond imagination. But they're very dangerous at this point. People have died already related to them, trying to bring out some of the knowledge. So I'm not the one to bring it out. I'll spread it when it comes out, but it's up to someone else when they will reveal this.
I want to ask you about how you get access to all these secret things, but I'd love to share what I've just learned about the way the pyramids do establish the energy, and this is from a couple different channeled sources. So I follow a person who does galactic history, different civilizations and different parts of the galaxy, and this person was channeling the race that's built the pyramids or advised the humans in the building of the pyramids, and she was describing how they work. And it's essentially it's like lightning, has the charge of the atmosphere and the charge of the ground. So there's a positive charge on the ground, I believe, and a negative charge. And so it's the pyramid itself is condensing the charge from the atmosphere and then collecting it in those chambers. And then it's grounded into the aquifer underneath. And
Yes.
the key parts that are missing are the insulators, the white blocks that are no longer there that were on the sides.
That's right. Yeah.
And then the capstone, which was also gold plated quartz,
Right.
which allowed the energy to be sort of collected in those chambers.
Yeah, I think that that's accurate also. And then there's another theory that there's a phenomenon called tachyons, and tachyons are supposedly faster than light particles, which actually are circulating around the Earth from east to west all the time. And some researchers that I know have done laser studies for years where they built miniature versions in plexiglass of the pyramid with the king's chamber in it and so forth. And then they would use light beams to imitate tachyons. And when they got all the dimensions right, these tachyons, as they passed through the side of the pyramid, would be reflected by the inner stones, particularly those kind of pyramidal shaped, the umbrella shaped stones that are over the top of the king's chamber. They would be reflected 4 different times. This is tachyon flow, and then be focused directly into the sarcophagus in the center of the king's chamber.
Ah.
And so we were talking about energy right now, but there's another whole dimension of it. I think particularly your audience would be interested in if they're not familiar already, which is that I strongly believe, based on a ton of research, that the king's chamber of the Great Pyramid was an initiation chamber. And this was maybe even the most important thing that it was. And the priests would get trained through 7 stages of initiation. And they would get trained in meditation, in physical fitness, in nutrition, all sorts of things, so that they would advance their consciousness. And then when they were ready through their training in the priesthood for the 7th level, then they would fast for several days, just have juices, get anointed in particular ways, and then be laid down in that king's chamber, in the sarcophagus, which I had the opportunity to lie in a couple of years ago. It's absolutely astounding.
Oh, wow.
You lie in this granite block, and then the whole pyramid would be resonated, and that resonance would focus your brainwaves. There's a thing called the Schumann resonance, which is the heartbeat of the Earth. It's a huge standing wave which circulates around the Earth all the time, and it's at about 7.83 cycles per second. Well, that's where our brain waves are when we're alert and yet at rest. That's the 0 point of the brain waves. You go faster up into doing stuff, you go slower down into meditation, creativity, psychic phenomena, and so forth. But the threshold is at about 7.83. So I believe that amongst other things, that the king's chamber was an energy focusing device for the brainwave vibration that would entrain the student into and then through that portal, where they would basically go into an out-of-body experience for 3 days. And that's where and in the lore about Egypt, that's when you would basically be introduced directly to God. So you would be in these outer realms being taught by light beings who are non-physical. And then when you came back, into your body in the king's chamber, that's when you began to actually function as a priest, because you'd not only been trained, but now you had been initiated.
Wow. Yeah, that I totally believe it.
Yeah.
Did you experience anything lying in there?
Your sound cut out for a second. Did I what?
Did you experience anything lying in the sarcophagus?
I experienced a deep sense of peace, and I experienced a lot of resonance, because I tried chanting different tones. I knew from other people that there were tones that would start resonating, and there were 3 different tones that would resonate the entire block of stone, and that was an outstanding feeling. I was with a group of people in such a way that each of us only had about 20 minutes actually lying in the chamber, but I could definitely feel that that if I were able to keep going, it would really deepen my states a lot.
That's pretty special to have that, to have 20 minutes there. I mean, wow.
Well, it was a special. Do you know who Nassim Haramein is?
I do. Yeah, I've got one of his arc crystals on today.
Oh, great. I was wearing one last night. Yeah. Well, I went on the trip with him. He and I had always wanted to go. Neither of us had ever been. In 2017, his organization took a group, and my wife and I went with them. And they had set it up ahead of time so that we had all 3 pyramids to ourselves for the entire night on the full moon in October. As far as we know, no one had ever been granted that before, but they really respect his work over there. And so there were 170 of us, and we were in all 3 pyramids simultaneously, and we each had one of those arc crystals that you have around your neck. Show that again to your audience, because
Let's see if I can take it off here. Yeah, for those just listening, holding up a crystal, it's sort of a pyramidal shape.
Yeah.
It's a grown quartz that's harmonized with his device. I can't remember what his device is called.
Yeah, the resonator. And it's not only a grown crystal to exactly the right angles and proportions, but it also is floating in little magnetic holders, so that there you go. So when that crystal is put into the holder, it floats magnetically so that it is free to resonate with the unified field. And so he had done a study in Tulum where he had 30 people and some rudimentary crystals, and they did this meditation on top of a pyramid and sent their intention through each of their crystals down into the center of the earth, and basically just sent love out into the unified field. And then they started getting seismic reports the next day that there was this huge wave that had come out from exactly where they were, like they'd never seen before. They thought an earthquake was coming, but none ever did. And that's when Nassim goes, okay, I think we have the right geometry. You combine that with human consciousness, and something else, starts to happen. So that was part of the reason why we went to Egypt, because 170 of us all had these crystals. We all went into the pyramids at the same time with tetrahedral arrays, where you take those crystals you just held up and you put them together, and they'll stick magnetically to other ones, and you can create an 8 tetrahedron crystal, or a 64, or a 128. Those are the key resonant notes in the octaves. And so we took those into the key spot. We had one of those in the sarcophagus. We had one on the Holy of Holies in each one of them. We put one of those crystals there. Then we did this meditation and chanting for hours in there. And then the next day, over the next 1 or 2 days, we were traveling up the Nile to the Isis temple. And one of the Egyptian guides, gets a call from the Russian space agency on his cell phone. He's riding along, and this call comes in, and they go, he introduces himself, and he says, we know that you had a group in the pyramids the other night, and we're just wondering, what were you doing in there? And you're not even allowed to sing or meditate or pray in the pyramids, but we actually had guards keeping other people out so we could do what we wanted. And so the guide was very cautious about this, and he said, well, you know, we were just doing a little chanting and so forth. So why are you curious about this? And they said, because we've got geosynchronous satellites monitoring the entire surface of the Earth 24/7, and we've never seen anything like what came off the Giza Plateau the night you were in there.
Whoa.
And we were like, whoa, okay. And we hadn't seen any seismographic reports yet, but we were on the way up to the Isis temple, where we had reserved the temple between midnight and 3 a.m. So we did the same thing again in the Isis temple. The next day, we checked the seismographic reports on the internet for Asia and Africa. And, you know, there were a few little earthquakes here and there. And then there was this huge thing coming right out from the Nile, right out of where we were at the Isis temple at 1:30 a.m. So that's 3 times in a row. That is not coincidence. So the point of this is that I think Nassim's geometry, and he and I have been working together for over 20 years, but he's very good on the physics of this stuff. We believe that we are accurate in terms of the geometry that resonates with the natural structure of the unified field of which we're all a part.
Wow. What an amazing story. Oh my gosh. I mean, anyone that's ever done.
I don't tell that one all the time, but I've watched a bunch of your videos and I noticed that you can go anywhere.
Oh, thank you for watching.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
You know, anyone that's participated in a group meditation perhaps has felt, you know, the amplified power of the group, and you know, that having a device like a crystal in a special place. I mean,
Right.
wow.
Exactly. Yeah.
So how did they give you guys permission to be in the pyramids overnight? Like, you know, did you just say like, I'm special, we want to do a thing? Like, you know, what paves the way for that to happen?
No, it's a combination of finding the right guides to contact who are open-minded. And we had some people who had contacts who could find those people, and then familiarizing them if they weren't already with Nassim's work. And they were absolutely fascinated with what he had done. And then that in combination with a little bakshish, you know, a little tips, some little bribes to allow us to do that for a night. All that came together very auspiciously at the right time.